The paper crackles in my hand, a sound too loud in the quiet of my office, each rustle echoing the tremor in my fingers. It's just an application, another one in a pile that my assistant Sarah left for me to review. But this one makes my stomach clench. Again. It's like that feeling from years ago, a sudden sharp drop, as if the floor has vanished beneath me. Reborn, but not in a good way. More like a nightmare resurrected. Eleanor Henderson. The name stares up at me from the crisp white page. Mrs. Henderson. My seventh grade English teacher. The woman who told me with a cool, appraising look that still chills me that I needed to learn my limitations. That some dreams were just not for people like me. Nausea rises, hot and bitter. I push my chair back, the expensive leather sighing against the silence. My office, usually a sanctuary, feels like it's closing in. Sunlight streams through the panoramic window, glinting off the awards lining my shelves. Awards for the Second Chances Foundation, the very organization I built from scratch, from sheer will and a refusal to be limited. The irony is a punch to the gut. My first instinct is to shred it, to watch her name, her qualifications, her neatly typed hopes turn into meaningless strips. It would be easy, satisfying even. A small, petty revenge for the girl who cried all the way home that day, the girl whose dreams Mrs. Henderson tried to smother before they'd even had a chance to breathe. But I'm not that girl anymore. My hand clenches the paper. Sarah, I call, my voice surprisingly steady. She appears at the door, efficient and calm as always. Yes, Maya. This applicant, Eleanor Henderson, did she say anything about knowing who the founder of this foundation is? Sarah frowns, tapping her pen against her notepad. No, I don't believe so. The initial screening notes just say she's highly qualified, extensive experience in education, albeit with a recent gap. Needs the work from the tone of her cover letter. Why? Is there a problem? A problem? Oh, Sarah, you have no idea. The problem is that the woman who told me I'd never amount to anything is now asking me for a job. The problem is that she has no idea who I am, who Maya Sterling, founder of a multi-million-dollar foundation dedicated to giving people the opportunities she tried to deny me, truly is. A slow, cold anger mixes with a strange, almost giddy sense of power. This isn't just an application, it's a reckoning. And I won't just dismiss it, that's too easy. Too unlike me. No problem, Sarah, I say, my voice smooth, betraying none of the turmoil inside. In fact, I think I'd like to handle this interview myself. Sarah's eyebrows shoot up. Really? For a mid-level program coordinator? Maya, you haven't personally interviewed for that level in years. This one feels different, I say, a cryptic smile playing on my lips. Schedule it. And Sarah? Yes? Don't mention my name to her. Let's just say the head of recruitment will be conducting it. Sarah hesitates, a question in her eyes, but she knows me well enough not to push when I use that tone. All right, Maya, I'll set it up. She leaves, and I'm alone again with the application. Eleanor Henderson, seeking a position at the Second Chances Foundation. My foundation. The delicious, terrible irony of it all settles over me. She wants a second chance, and she's come to the one person she tried to ensure would never get a first. I look at her resume again. Extensive experience. Passionate about education. Words. Just words on a page. I remember her words, too. The ones that weren't on any official document. A plan begins to form, sharp and clear in my mind. I won't just see her. I'll interview her. I'll sit across from her, this woman who tried to define my future, and I will be the one holding all the cards. She won't know me, not at first. But oh, she will. By the time I'm done, she will. The rustling of the paper is still there, but my hands are steady now. The tremor has moved deeper inside. A thrum of anticipation, of a confrontation years in the making. Mrs. Henderson is about to step into my world, the world I built not despite her, but perhaps in some small defiant way because of her. And I, Maya Sterling, the girl who would supposedly never amount to anything, will be waiting. This isn't just an interview, it's a ghost from the past knocking on my door, and I'm finally ready to answer. The power dynamic she established all those years ago? It's about to be completely, irrevocably flipped. The thought sends a shiver down my spine. Not of fear, but of something far more potent: control, and the delicious anticipation of what comes next. She doesn't know who I am. She doesn't know what's coming. This is going to be interesting. I pull up her cover letter again, eager to contribute to a mission I deeply believe in. Oh, I bet she is. My mission. The one born from the ashes of the future she tried to burn. The weight of the moment, the sheer audacity of fate, makes me almost laugh. Almost. Instead, I pick up my pen. Time to make some notes. Time to prepare for a meeting that has been brewing for over 20 years. She has no idea. And that, I realize with a chilling certainty, is exactly how I want it. The stage is set, the players are unknowingly assembling, and I, the once insignificant student, am now the director of this little drama. The thought is intoxicating. My foundation is built on giving people a new start, a chance to rewrite their stories. But Mrs. Henderson, what will her new chapter look like, I wonder, when she finally realizes who holds the pen? The crisp paper in my hand suddenly feels less like a threat and more like a script. And I can't wait for the first act to begin. Holding Mrs. Henderson's application is like holding a cold stone. Its chill seeping into my bones, triggering an avalanche of memories I've spent years trying to bury. 7th grade. God, was I ever that young, that hopeful, that breakable? The scent of the application generic office paper, a faint whiff of toner fades, replaced by the ghost smell of old classroom chalk, floor polish, and the faint, ever-present aroma of fear sweat that clung to the air in Mrs. Henderson's room. Room 203, my personal little chamber of horrors. It's parent-teacher conference night. The memory is so vivid. It's like I'm right there again, perched nervously on a too-small chair beside my mom, my meticulously prepared presentation clutched in my sweaty hands. I was 12, all gangly limbs and earnest enthusiasm. My project: helping our city's hidden families. It was about the homeless, a subject that had inexplicably gripped my young heart. I'd drawn charts, interviewed a woman at a local shelter, under mom's supervision, of course, and even sketched out a plan for a student-run donation drive. I was so proud of it, so sure it mattered. I remember the way Mrs. Henderson's lips thinned as I passionately explained my ideas. Her eyes, a pale, washed-out blue, coolly assessing me over the rim of her glasses. Mom, bless her, was beaming, nodding along, her hand resting reassuringly on my shoulder. When I finished, a hopeful silence filled the small, cluttered space. I waited for the praise, for the encouragement, for something positive. Instead, Mrs. Henderson leaned back in her squeaky chair, a sound that seemed to echo the deflation of my spirits. She looked at my mom, not at me. Maya is imaginative, Mrs. Sterling. She certainly has a flair for the dramatic. My mom's smile faltered. She worked very hard on this, Mrs. Henderson. She really cares about these things. Caring is admirable, Mrs. Henderson conceded, her tone anything but. Then, her gaze finally shifted to me, and it felt like being pinned by an icy spear. But Maya, some children need to learn their limitations early. It's a kindness, really. This focus on such grand, unrealistic schemes, it's not practical. You need to concentrate on achievable goals, things within your grasp. The words. Oh God, the words. Learn their limitations early, like a death sentence for a dream I hadn't even fully formed. My carefully drawn chart suddenly looked childish. My passionate speech, naive. The woman I interviewed at the shelter, her tired eyes and grateful smile, did that not matter? But I want to help people, I whispered, my voice small, the passionate fire in my chest sputtering into a painful ember. Mrs. Henderson gave a tight, unsympathetic smile. There are many ways to help, Maya, perhaps something more. Suited to your abilities. A bake sale, maybe? A bake sale. She'd reduced my burning desire to make a difference. My hours of research and heartfelt planning to a bloody bake sale. The devastation was absolute. It was more than just criticism of a school project. It felt like a judgment on me, on my very essence. I remember the car ride home, the silence thick and heavy despite Mom's attempts to soothe me. Her words, "Don't you listen to her, baby. You can be anything you want to be," felt like a distant comfort against the fresh, stinging wound. Those words, "Learn your limitations," became the unwelcome soundtrack to my teenage years. They echoed in every challenging class, every ambitious thought, every tentative step I took towards something bigger. They were a constant whisper of doubt, a reminder of potential failure. For a long time, I let them define me. I shrank, I aimed lower, I tried to be practical. But a spark of defiance, the one Mrs. Henderson had tried so hard to extinguish, refused to die. It smoldered, biding its time. The turning point wasn't a single dramatic event, but a slow burn of quiet anger and a growing resolve. It was the countless nights I lay awake, her words ringing in my ears, and a new thought began to take root. I'll show her. I'll show them all. It wasn't about revenge, not then. It was about survival. It was about proving to myself that I was more than the limited future she'd painted for me. I remember sitting at my rickety desk in my tiny dorm room years later, drowning in coursework for social work, the weight of student loans pressing down on me. Her face, her dismissive tone flashed in my mind, and instead of crumbling, I straightened my shoulders. This is for you, little Maya, I'd thought, a quiet vow blooming in my chest. This is to prove that woman wrong. And now, here she is. Or rather, here her application is. The irony is so thick I can barely breathe. The woman who preached limitations is seeking a role in a foundation built on limitless possibility. My phone buzzes on the desk, pulling me from the suffocating grip of the past. It's Sarah's email. Interview with Eleanor Henderson confirmed. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., conference room B. Tomorrow. My heart gives a frantic little thump. So soon. I thought I'd have more time to prepare, to armor myself, but perhaps less time is better. Less time to doubt, to second guess. I pull up Mrs. Henderson's file again, my fingers clicking on the mouse with a newfound urgency. There must be more to this. Why now? Why my foundation? I scan her work history, the recent gap Sarah mentioned. Then, tucked away in the supplementary documents section, a link to a public records search Sarah had preemptively run standard procedure for potential hires in sensitive roles. My breath catches. Divorce finalized 3 months ago. Property settlement indicates significant financial strain. And then, another hit. Termination of employment from Northwood High 6 months prior. Reason listed, restructuring. A wave of something unexpected washes over me, muddying the clear waters of my anger. Desperation. Mrs. Henderson isn't just looking for a job, she needs this job. Recently divorced. Lost her teaching position? Financially struggling. The image of the cool, authoritative teacher begins to crack, replaced by a flicker of a woman brought low, a woman vulnerable. It changes things, or does it? Does her current hardship negate the damage she caused? Does it erase the sting of her words, the years I spent fighting their shadow? The ticking clock of the grandfather clock in the hall seems to mock me. Tomorrow, 10 a.m., I stare at the application, at the name Eleanor Henderson. She's no longer just a ghost from my past. She's a real person with real problems, unknowingly walking into the biggest collision of her life. And I am the architect of that collision. The thought is both terrifying and exhilarating. She's desperate, and I have what she desperately needs. The power dynamic isn't just flipped, it's a chasm, with me standing on the high ground. What will I do with that power? The question hangs in the air, heavy and unanswered. For the first time, a sliver of doubt, cold and sharp, pierces through my resolve. This isn't just about proving her wrong anymore, is it? It's about something far more complicated. And tomorrow, I have to face it. And her. The bitter taste of stale coffee coats my tongue. It's 3 a.m. The city outside my window is a glittering, indifferent beast, and I'm wide awake, the glow of my laptop screen painting harsh shadows on my face. Mrs. Henderson's life, or what fragments of it I can piece together from the internet, is spread across multiple open tabs. I'm not just preparing for an interview, I'm excavating a past, both hers and mine. Strategic planning, I tell myself. Know your adversary. No, that's not right. Applicant. She's an applicant. The discovery phase has been illuminating. Northwood High's website lists her as a former faculty member. Her picture a little grayer, a little more tired than the crisp image in my memory, but unmistakably her. A few local news articles about school budget cuts mention staff restructuring. Polite corporate speak for "you're fired." Then there are the public divorce records, messy, protracted, ending with her on the losing side of asset division. The house she presumably shared with her husband, sold. Her current address is a small apartment in a less than desirable part of town. A picture emerges of a woman whose carefully constructed life has crumbled. The woman who once lectured me on limitations is now facing a stark reality of her own. A knot tightens in my chest. It's an uncomfortable mix of satisfaction and something akin to pity. Revenge is a cold dish, they say, but this feels more like watching a ship sink from the safety of the shore. There's a grim sense of justice, yes, but also a queasy understanding of how quickly fortunes can turn. I lean back, rubbing my tired eyes. What am I doing? Is this about vetting a candidate, or is it about settling an old score? The lines are blurring, and I don't like it. My foundation, Second Chances, is built on empathy, on understanding human frailty, on offering a hand up, not a slap down. And yet, the thought of Mrs. Henderson, stripped of her former authority, walking into my foundation, unknowingly seeking help from me, there's a dark, undeniable appeal to it. You look like you're plotting world domination, or at least a very hostile takeover. Sarah's voice, soft but startling in the pre-dawn quiet, makes me jump. She's standing in the doorway of my home office, a mug in her hand. Her expression a mixture of concern and amusement. She often starts her day before the sun, just like me. We're a good team that way. Just preparing for an interview, I manage, trying for a casual tone that doesn't quite land. She raises an eyebrow, walking further into the room. At 3 a.m.? For a program coordinator? Maya, what's really going on? This isn't like you. I sigh, the fight draining out of me for a moment. I trust Sarah. She's more than an assistant. She's a friend, the closest thing to a sister I have. She knows my story, or at least the broad strokes of it, the tough childhood, the struggle, the drive that built this foundation. That applicant, I say, gesturing to the screen, Eleanor Henderson. She was a teacher of mine in middle school. Sarah's eyes widen slightly. Oh, one of the good ones, I hope. A humorless laugh escapes me. Hardly. She was the one who told me I'd never amount to anything, that I should learn my limitations. Sarah is silent for a moment, processing. Then, a slow smile spreads across her face. No freaking way. And she's applied for a job here and doesn't know it's you? The amusement is back, tenfold. Oh, this is rich. So, the personal interview. I don't know what it is yet, I confess. The bravado from earlier fading into genuine uncertainty. Part of me wants to see her squirm. Part of me wants to, I don't know, understand? Or maybe just to finally close that chapter. And which part is winning? Sarah asks, her gaze shrewd. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The internal conflict is a raging wildfire. The wounded 12-year-old in me screams for retribution. But the woman I've become, the woman who champions second chances, she's whispering something else entirely. Compassion? Forgiveness? The words feel foreign in this context. I'm still going to do the interview myself, I say, more firmly this time. Incognito. I need to see her, to hear what she has to say without her knowing who I am. Not yet. This feels like a crucial power move, a way to maintain control, to gather unbiased information before the inevitable detonation. Sarah nods slowly. Okay, but Maya, be careful. What are you hoping to achieve? Closure? Revenge? Because sometimes those things aren't as satisfying as we think they'll be. Her moral compass, always unerring, is pointing straight at the heart of my dilemma. She's challenging me, and I appreciate it. I know, I say, though I'm not sure I do. But I have to do this. I pause, a thought striking me with the force of a revelation. You know, Sarah, all those years ago when she said those things, I remember wishing there was someone, some powerful adult, who could have stepped in, who could have told her she was wrong, who could have protected that little girl's dreams. I look around my office at the testament to what I've built. And now I'm that person. I'm the one with the power. The realization is sobering. I've become exactly who I once needed. What does that demand of me now? Sarah comes over and places a comforting hand on my shoulder. Then be the person you needed, Maya, not the person she was. Her words resonate deeply, cutting through the anger and the hurt. Be the person I needed. Just as she's about to leave, she points to a file on my desk. By the way, I found something else in Mrs. Henderson's application package, deep in the scanned attachments for her teaching certifications. Thought you might want to see it. Curious, I open the file. It's a collection of old recommendation letters, scanned and digitized. One of them is from the principal of my old middle school, dated years ago. And stapled to it, almost as an afterthought, is a grainy, photocopied class photo. 7th grade, room 203. My breath hitches. There I am. A small, dark-haired girl with big, hopeful eyes standing in the back row. And there, in the front, seated, is Mrs. Henderson younger, her expression severe even then. She has a photo of me, of my class. It means nothing, probably. Standard practice to keep such things. But seeing my younger self, frozen in that moment, juxtaposed with the knowledge of the impending interview, sends a fresh jolt through me. That little girl in the photo had no idea what was coming, the words that would try to define her. And Mrs. Henderson, the woman in that same photo, has no idea what's coming now. The interview is scheduled for 10 a.m. I glance at the clock. It's almost 5. A few more hours. I arrive at the foundation headquarters ridiculously early, needing to walk the halls, to feel the tangible reality of what I've built before I face her. Conference room B is prepped, water carafe gleaming, notepads neatly arranged. I see her before she sees me. Through the blinds of my office window, which overlooks the main entrance, I spot a figure pacing nervously on the sidewalk. Even from this distance, I recognize the set of her shoulders, the anxious way she clutches her purse. Eleanor Henderson, looking smaller somehow, more ordinary. The fearsome teacher of my memory seems to have shrunk, diminished by time and hardship. She looks up at the imposing glass building, my building, with an expression that I can only interpret as a mixture of hope and trepidation. The sight of her, so clearly vulnerable, twists something inside me again. The righteous anger feels less righteous now, just tired and sad. The stage is set, the actor is waiting, and I, the director, am suddenly unsure of the play. The click of my heels on the polished marble floor of the reception area sounds unnaturally loud. Each step is deliberate, measured. I see Mrs. Henderson sitting in one of the plush armchairs, looking small and out of place amidst the modern, vibrant art and the quiet hum of purposeful activity that defines the Second Chances Foundation. She jumps slightly when she hears me approach, her head snapping up. Her eyes, those same pale blue eyes that once dismissed my dreams, scan my face. There's a flicker of something, confusion, a vague sense of familiarity, but no recognition. Of course not. I'm not the gangly, earnest 12-year-old girl anymore. I'm Maya Sterling, founder and CEO, a woman accustomed to boardrooms and public speaking, dressed in a tailored suit that probably costs more than her monthly rent. The power dynamic is so stark, it's almost a physical presence in the room. Mrs. Henderson? I say, my voice calm, professional. I extend a hand. Thank you for coming in. I'm the head of recruitment. I manage to keep the slight tremor out of my voice, the lie tasting like ash in my mouth. She takes my hand, her grip surprisingly frail. Thank you for seeing me. It's an honor to be considered. Her voice is thinner than I remember, threaded with an anxiety that's palpable. Please come this way. I lead her towards conference room B. The walk is short, but it feels like miles. I'm acutely aware of her a step behind me, her slightly worn handbag, the nervous energy radiating from her. This is it. The face to face I've replayed in my mind 1,000 times, in 1,000 different ways. Inside the conference room, I gesture for her to sit, then take my place opposite her at the large mahogany table. For a moment, we just look at each other. I see the lines of worry etched around her eyes, the subtle sag of her shoulders that speaks of defeat. She sees, I assume, a confident executive. The dramatic irony is a heavy cloak around me. So, Mrs. Henderson, I begin, opening her file, though I've memorized every word. Your resume is impressive. A long career in education. Yes, she says, a ghost of a smile touching her lips. I was a teacher for over 25 years, mostly English and literature, middle and high school. What made you leave teaching? I ask, my tone neutral, though the question is a loaded one. Her smile fades. Well, there were budget cuts. Restructuring, they called it. My position was eliminated. There's a careful blankness in her expression, the practiced neutrality of someone who's told this story too many times, trying to rob it of its sting. That must have been difficult, I offer, a bland corporate platitude. It was, she admits, her gaze dropping to her clasped hands. Teaching wasn't just a job for me. It was my life. My internal cynic scoffs. Her life? What about the lives she impacted, the young minds she shaped, or tried to crush? But I keep my expression smooth. This is an interview, not an interrogation. Not yet. The interview progresses. I ask her about her teaching philosophy, her experience with at-risk youth, a key component of the role she's applied for, her strengths, her weaknesses. Her answers are standard, polished. She talks about fostering a love of learning, about believing in every student's potential. The hypocrisy is galling, and I have to physically restrain myself from calling her out then and there. Believing in every student's potential? Really, Eleanor? You mention a passion for helping students overcome obstacles, I say, leaning forward slightly. Can you give me an example of a time you helped a student who was perhaps underestimated, someone others might have written off? My probing is subtle, but it's there, a gentle pressure on an old bruise. She hesitates, her brow furrows in thought. There were so many over the years, she says, a touch of wistfulness in her voice. It's hard to pick just one. Every child has their own battles, their own mountains to climb. She pauses, then continues, I suppose I always tried to see the spark in them, even if it was buried deep. Sometimes it just takes one person to believe in them, you know? One person to believe in them. The irony is so thick, I could choke on it. My control is slipping. The urge to reveal myself, to unleash the years of resentment, is a physical ache in my chest. And what about the ones you didn't see the spark in, Mrs. Henderson? I ask, my voice a little sharper than intended. Or the ones whose sparks you, perhaps, discouraged? She looks up, startled by my change in tone. A flicker of unease crosses her face. I don't understand. Surely, in 25 years, there were students you felt wouldn't make it? Students you advised to aim lower? For their own good, of course. The words are out before I can stop them, laced with a sarcasm I don't bother to hide. Her eyes narrow slightly. She's not stupid. She senses the shift, the undercurrent of something personal. I hope I never made a student feel that way. Of course, as an educator, you sometimes have to guide students towards realistic paths, but to deliberately crush a dream? No, I hope I would never do that. Her voice falters on the hope. She's uncomfortable. Good. I press on. Realistic paths. Limitations. Sometimes, isn't it the job of an educator to help students see beyond their perceived limitations? To encourage them to reach for things that seem impractical? My own words from all those years ago, thrown back at her, disguised as a philosophical inquiry. She shifts in her seat. Yes, of course, it's a balance. A delicate balance. She seems to be searching for the right answer, the one the head of recruitment wants to hear. And then a strange thing happens. Her gaze becomes distant, unfocused, as if she's looking through me into the past. There was one girl years ago, bright girl, imaginative, too imaginative perhaps. She had this project about helping the homeless. So much passion, but it was so grand, so unrealistic for a child her age. My heart stops, she remembers. Not me, not my face, but the girl, the project. I I told her to be more practical. Mrs. Henderson continues, her voice soft, laced with a new, unfamiliar emotion. Regret. I thought I was being kind, protecting her from disappointment. But the look on her face, she shakes her head slowly, her eyes glistening. I've never forgotten that look. It was like I'd broken something precious. She looks directly at me then, a raw, unguarded honesty in her eyes. I was younger then, less experienced, more rigid in my thinking. I've often wondered what happened to that girl, if I set her on the wrong path, if I did in fact crush something vital. She takes a shaky breath. Over the years, I've learned that practicality isn't everything. Sometimes those big, impractical dreams are the ones that change the world. Sometimes the limitations are only in our own minds, or in the minds of tired, jaded teachers. The admission hangs in the air, heavy and profound. It's more than I ever expected. Genuine remorse, self-reflection, without even knowing why it matters so profoundly to the woman sitting across from her. I'm stunned into silence. The carefully constructed walls of my anger, my indignation, begin to crumble. This isn't the cold, unfeeling monster of my memory. This is a woman haunted by her own mistakes. A woman who has, it seems, learned something. My carefully planned speech, my dramatic reveal feels out of place now. The script has changed. But the interview is almost over. The clock on the wall shows we have 5 minutes left. My internal struggle is a raging inferno. Revenge is right there within my grasp. One word from me and her chances here are gone. But then, Sarah's voice. Be the person you needed. I take a slow, deliberate breath, my mind racing. There's one more question I have to ask. One more piece of this puzzle I need to see. Mrs. Henderson, I say, my voice softer now, the edge gone. If you could speak to that student now, the one you told would never amount to anything, the one whose dreams you perhaps mishandled, what would you say to her? Her eyes, already moist, fill with tears. She looks down at her hands, then back up at me, her gaze direct, unflinching. The air crackles with unspoken truths, with the weight of years. The answer she gives now, it feels like it will determine everything. The interview time is ticking away, but in this moment, time seems to have stopped. Her answer hangs in the balance, and with it, perhaps, both our futures. Mrs. Henderson takes a shaky breath, her gaze fixed on something beyond me, perhaps on the ghost of that 12-year-old girl she just unknowingly resurrected. The sound of rain begins to patter against the large conference room window, a soft, melancholic soundtrack to the unfolding drama. If I could speak to her now, she begins, her voice thick with emotion. I would tell her. I would tell her I was wrong. So profoundly, deeply wrong. A tear escapes and traces a path down her cheek. She doesn't wipe it away. I would tell her that my own limitations, my own fears, my own lack of vision had no place in her bright, boundless future. I would tell her that her passion was a gift, not a burden. That her big, impractical dreams were exactly what the world needed. She looks directly at me then, her eyes pleading, as if I were a confessor, a stand-in for the student she wronged. I would tell her that I am sorry, so deeply, truly sorry, for the hurt I caused, for the doubt I planted. I would tell her that I hope, I pray, that she didn't listen to me, that she soared, that she became everything she was meant to be, not in spite of me, but simply because it was her destiny. Her words, so raw, so full of remorse, hit me with the force of a physical blow. This wasn't the scripted apology I'd half expected, the carefully worded regret of someone trying to secure a job. This was real. This was a woman confessing a deep, long held regret, a burden she'd clearly carried for years. My carefully constructed composure shatters the years of resentment, the simmering anger, the carefully planned reveal. It all feels small, petty, in the face of her genuine contrition. She did soar, Mrs. Henderson, I say, my voice barely a whisper. The jig is up. There's no other way. Mrs. Henderson frowns confused. I beg your pardon? I stand up slowly, my legs feeling strangely unsteady. I walk around the table, closer to her. That girl, the one with the project about homeless families, the one you told to learn her limitations. I pause, letting the weight of the moment settle. That girl was me, Eleanor. The color drains from her face. Her eyes widen in horrified comprehension. Her mouth opens, then closes again, a silent gasp. Shock. Disbelief. And then a slow, dawning shame that seems to consume her. She stares at me, truly seeing me for the first time. Not as the head of recruitment, but as Maya Sterling, the ghost from her past, materialized in the flesh, the living embodiment of a mistake she's clearly never forgiven herself for. Maya? She whispers, the name of fragile thing in the suddenly charged air. Maya Sterling? It's as if she's seeing a phantom. Her hand flies to her mouth, her eyes darting around the room as if seeking an escape from this impossible reality. Yes, I say, my voice gentle now. There's no triumph in this, no satisfaction, just a profound, aching sadness. Oh my God, she breathes, shrinking back in her chair. Oh my dear God, it can't be. The devastation in her eyes is absolute. The polished professional facade has crumbled, revealing the raw, vulnerable woman beneath. This isn't just about a job anymore. This is about a lifetime of regret crashing down on her in a single, unbearable moment. I had no idea, she stammers, tears streaming freely now. When I saw the name of the foundation, Second Chances, I thought it was a sign, a place where I could try to make amends for past failings. But I never ever imagined it was your foundation, Maya. The rain outside picks up, lashing against the windows, mirroring the storm of emotion inside the room. We're both confronting the past, the raw, unvarnished truth of that moment in room 203 and its long, painful aftermath. Those words, Eleanor, I say, the formality of her surname feeling absurd now. They nearly destroyed me. For years, I heard your voice in my head telling me I wasn't good enough, that my dreams were too big. I know, she chokes out, her voice ragged with shame. I know, and I am so, so sorry. There's no excuse for what I said, for how I made you feel. It was cruel. It was thoughtless. It was unforgivable. She's not making excuses. She's owning it, fully and completely. The accountability is stark and oddly disarming. I have all the power now. I could crush her. I could deliver the killing blow, the one the 12-year-old me fantasized about. I could tell her she's unfit to work here, that she embodies everything this foundation fights against. It would be so easy, so justified even. But as I look at her, truly look at her, a broken woman, weeping, stripped of all pretense, the desire for vengeance evaporates, replaced by something I can only describe as a painful empathy. Her own life has clearly been a series of limitations, of dreams unfulfilled, of bitter disappointments. She breaks down then, her shoulders shaking, a low sob escaping her lips. I failed, Maya, not just you. I failed as a teacher. I became rigid, bitter. My own marriage was falling apart. My career was stagnating. I was unhappy, and I think I took it out on my students. On bright, hopeful students like you who reminded me of everything I wasn't, everything I'd lost. Her confession is a punch to the gut. It's not an excuse, but it's human, painfully human. The truth is, we were both in pain that day, in different ways. Her words wounded me, yes. But she was wounded too, in ways I couldn't have understood as a child. I never forgot you, Maya, she says, her voice regaining a sliver of strength amidst the tears. She fumbles in her purse, her hands shaking, and pulls out a worn, folded newspaper clipping. It's an old article from a local paper, about the initial launch of the Second Chances Foundation. There's a picture of me, younger, less polished, but with the same fire in my eyes. I've I've followed your success from a distance. I saw this years ago. I was so proud and so ashamed. Proud that you'd proven me so wrong. Ashamed that I was the one who could have snuffed out that light. My carefully constructed narrative of her as the villain, the unfeeling monster, crumbles completely. She's not a monster. She's a flawed, broken human being who made a terrible mistake, a mistake she's clearly lived with for years. She didn't just dismiss me and forget. She remembered. She watched. She even felt pride. The room is silent save for her quiet sobs and the drumming of the rain. The confrontation I'd envisioned, the righteous anger, the satisfying taste of revenge. None of it feels right anymore. All that's left is a shared, aching humanity. My power, the power to destroy her chances, feels like a lead weight. What is the point of vengeance when the person already lives in their own private hell of regret? What is the point of crushing someone who is already on their knees? I choose vulnerability over vengeance. It's the only path that feels true. Eleanor, I say, my voice soft, thank you for your honesty. She looks up, her eyes wide with a desperate, fragile hope. Does this mean? But the interview is over. The decision. That's another matter entirely. I need time. I need space. I need to think away from the raw, overwhelming emotion in this room. I stand up, a signal that our time is done. We'll be in touch, I say, the standard, non-committal phrase. But it feels inadequate, hollow, given everything that has just transpired. She nods, too choked up to speak, her gaze still fixed on me, a maelstrom of emotions swirling in their depths, shame, regret, and a tiny, flickering spark of something else. Hope? Or just the desperate plea of a drowning woman? I walk towards the door, my mind reeling. I can feel her eyes on my back. As I reach for the handle, I pause. I don't turn around. I can't. Not yet. This isn't over, not by a long shot. The real decision, the one that will define not just her future, but perhaps mine as well, is yet to be made. And I have no idea which way it will go. I leave her there, alone with her tears and the ghosts of the past, the rain still beating against the window like a relentless, accusing heartbeat. The hallways of the Second Chances Foundation feel different as I walk them now. Each step echoes with the weight of the encounter, with Eleanor Henderson's tear-streaked face seared into my memory. I pace, needing to move, to think. The warm scent of coffee and cinnamon from the staff kitchen, usually a comforting aroma, a scent of hope and activity, now feels intrusive. My internal debate is a raging storm. The wounded 12-year-old Maya screams for justice, for a reckoning. She hurt you. She tried to break you. Don't let her get away with it. But the woman I am today, the leader of this foundation, the one who preaches empathy and new beginnings, hears a different voice. Sarah's voice. Be the person you needed. I find myself in the children's wing, a vibrant space filled with colorful murals, tiny tables, and the happy chatter of kids in our after-school programs. I see a little girl, no older than I was then, hunched over a drawing, her tongue poking out in concentration. Her brow is furrowed, her focus absolute. She's drawing a fantastical castle, all turrets and flags, reaching for an impossibly blue sky. It's impractical, it's grand, it's beautiful. A teacher, one of ours, kneels beside her, pointing to a detail, her voice soft and encouraging. That's wonderful, Livia. What a magnificent castle. Tell me about it. The little girl's face lights up, and she begins to explain her elaborate vision, her voice full of passion and certainty. The teacher listens, truly listens, nodding, asking questions, nurturing that spark. This is what we do here. This is what Second Chances is all about. We don't talk about limitations. We talk about possibilities. A clarity begins to pierce through the emotional fog. What would that 12-year-old Maya, the one who dreamed of helping homeless families, the one who just wanted someone to believe in her, want me to do? Would she want me to crush Eleanor Henderson, to relish in her downfall? Or would she want me to offer a hand up, even to the person who once tried to push her down? The answer, when it comes, is surprisingly clear and deeply uncomfortable. I retreat to my office and pick up the phone. There's one person I always turn to when the path is murky, when my own emotions threaten to cloud my judgment. My mentor, Dr. Evans, a retired social work professor who saw my potential long before I saw it in myself. Maya, his voice, warm and familiar, is an immediate comfort. To what do I owe the honor? I pour out the story, the whole messy, complicated saga of Mrs. Henderson, my past, her present, the impossible decision I now face. He listens patiently without interruption, his silence a comforting space for me to unravel my tangled thoughts. When I'm finished, there's a long pause. Then he says, his voice gentle but firm, Maya, you know the old saying, mercy seasons justice. Sometimes, mercy is the greater justice, not just for the recipient, but for the giver. But she hurt me, Dr. Evans, I argue, the old wound throbbing. She tried to limit me. And did she succeed? He asks quietly. No, I admit, I built this. I proved her wrong. Exactly, he says. You've already won, Maya. The question now isn't about winning or losing. It's about what kind of leader, what kind of person you want to be. Her actions were wrong, undeniably. But people can change, people can learn. Isn't that the very premise of your foundation? His wisdom, as always, cuts to the core. This isn't about Eleanor Henderson anymore, not really. It's about me. It's about my values, the principles upon which I've built my life and this foundation. Do I believe in second chances only for those who haven't wronged me personally? The power I hold is immense. I could ensure Eleanor Henderson never works in this field again. It would be easy. But would it be right? Would it align with the mission I champion every single day? I thank Dr. Evans, his words a steadying anchor in my emotional storm. The decision is made, not based on my hurt, not based on a desire for revenge, but on my values, on the fundamental belief that everyone, even those who have caused us pain, deserves a chance to redeem themselves. My hand is steady as I dial Eleanor Henderson's number. It rings twice before she answers, her voice small, hesitant. Hello? Eleanor, it's Maya Sterling. A sharp intake of breath on the other end. Silence. Then, Maya, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything right now, I tell her, my tone calm, professional, but not unkind. I've reviewed your application and your interview. I pause, letting the words hang in the air. The position of program coordinator. It's yours, if you want it. Another silence, longer this time. I can hear her ragged breathing. Are you serious? She finally whispers, disbelief lacing her tone. I am, I say. But there are conditions. This isn't about letting her off the hook. This is about ensuring genuine change, genuine contribution. You'll be working directly with our at-risk youth, students who are struggling, who have been told they won't amount to anything. Your role will be to nurture their potential, to help them see beyond their perceived limitations. To be the teacher you perhaps weren't always able to be in the past. It's a direct challenge, a chance for her to actively undo the kind of damage she once inflicted. A chance to heal, not just for the students, but perhaps for herself as well. You'll also be required to participate in our Foundation's Restorative Justice Program, I continue, to share your story, your learnings, with other educators, to help us build a system where no child's dream is ever dismissed as impractical. The line is quiet for so long, I wonder if she's hung up. Then, a choked sob. Maya, I don't deserve this, not after what I did to you. Perhaps not, I concede. But this foundation isn't about what people deserve, Eleanor. It's about what they can become. It's about second chances. The full circle. The woman who once crushed dreams will now help nurture them. It's a risk. A huge risk. But it feels right. I understand if you need time to think about it, I say. You have 24 hours to decide. No, she says, her voice suddenly stronger, laced with a desperate conviction. No, I don't need 24 hours. Yes, I accept. Thank you, Maya, thank you. The relief in her voice is palpable. But there's something else, too, a question that seems to hang heavy in the unspoken space between us. Maya, she says, her voice barely audible. Can I can I ever truly make amends for what I did? Her question, so raw, so vulnerable, echoes the one I've been asking myself. Can this truly heal the past? Or are some wounds too deep, some betrayals too profound? I don't have the answer, not yet. Eleanor's question hangs in the air long after the call ends. Can I ever truly make amends? I don't know. But I know she's willing to try, and for now, that has to be enough. She accepts the position formally via email, her words imbued with a gratitude so profound it's almost painful to read. The signing of the papers is a quiet, subdued affair. I watch her hand, the same hand that once dismissed my project with a wave, now tremble slightly as she signs the employment contract. There's a new softness in her eyes, a humility that wasn't there before. Or perhaps it was, and I was just too blinded by my own hurt to see it. Her first day is interesting. I observe from a distance, a silent spectator to her re-entry into the world of education, but a world so vastly different from the one she knew. She's assigned to our Dream Builders program, working with middle schoolers who are, for various reasons, struggling to find their footing. Kids who've been told they're too much trouble, not smart enough, dreaming too big. Kids just like I was. I see her with them, not as the stern, authoritative Mrs. Henderson of my memory, but as Eleanor. She's hesitant at first, almost tentative, as if afraid of making another misstep. But then I see a glimmer of the teacher she could have been, the teacher she's now striving to become. A troubled boy, known for his angry outbursts, throws his drawing on the floor in frustration. The old Mrs. Henderson might have reprimanded him, lectured him on self-control. This, Eleanor kneels beside him, her voice soft, her approach gentle. "That's a powerful dragon, Marcus," she says, picking up the crumpled paper. "He looks like he's got a lot of fire inside him. Tell me about it." Marcus, stunned by her unexpected reaction, slowly begins to talk. And Eleanor listens, truly listens. It's a small moment, but it speaks volumes. A healing is beginning, not just for her, but for me too. Watching her gently guide these fragile young dreams, I feel a knot I've carried for decades begin to loosen. My own wounds, the ones she inflicted, are finally, slowly closing. I don't make a secret of her past. Transparency is key here. I speak to my staff, explaining the situation, my decision. Some are skeptical, some are openly critical, but they trust my judgment. And I make it clear this is a chance for redemption, and we, as an organization built on second chances, must embody that principle, even when it's hard. I publicly support Eleanor's fresh start, shielding her from the inevitable whispers, the curious glances. It's my power move, not of vengeance, but of grace. Months pass. Eleanor, against all odds, or perhaps because of them, thrives. Her past mistake, the one that haunted her for so long, has become her greatest asset. She understands, on a visceral level, the damage that careless words can inflict. She understands the crushing weight of perceived limitations. And she fights for these kids, for their impractical dreams, with a ferocity that surprises everyone, including, I think, herself. She becomes one of our most effective counselors, her empathy a beacon for these struggling students. One afternoon, I'm walking through the Dream Builders classroom when a young girl, no older than I was when I first encountered Eleanor, runs up to me, her eyes shining. She reminds me so much of my younger self, it's uncanny. She thrusts a piece of paper into my hand. It's a story filled with misspelled words and a fierce, untamed imagination about a girl who builds a flying machine to rescue stray animals. "Mrs. Henderson helped me," the girl says, beaming. "She said it was the best idea she'd heard all week. She said I should never let anyone tell me my dreams are too big." I look over at Eleanor, who is watching the exchange with a quiet smile, her eyes glistening. She gives me a small, almost imperceptible nod. Full circle. The legacy I'm building here, I realize, isn't just about successful programs or impressive fundraising. It's about this, about the healing of old wounds, about the transformative power of forgiveness, about the quiet, persistent belief that everyone, everyone can change, can grow, can strive to be better than they were. Forgiveness, I see now, creates far more change than revenge ever could. We've both been reborn through this experience, Eleanor and I. She, from a woman broken by regret to an educator empowered by a renewed sense of purpose. And I, from a woman driven by a past hurt to a leader who understands the profound strength and mercy. We don't talk about that day in room 203 much anymore. There's no need. The final meeting, the one where we might have rehashed all the pain, never really happens in a formal way. Instead, it happens in these small, shared moments. In the proud gleam in her eye when a student succeeds. In the quiet understanding that passes between us. We are, finally, equals. Two women who have seen the worst of each other and somehow found a path to something better. I chose strength over satisfaction, love over hate. And in doing so, I didn't just give Eleanor Henderson a second chance. I gave one to myself, too. The past can't be rewritten, but the future, I know with a certainty that settles deep in my soul, is a story we get to write ourselves. And this new chapter, it's the best one yet.